everybody, welcome back for an author talk short. You have me and Russell here today, and our lovely guest today is Diane, and we are talking romance, fantasy, rock and roll books today for short. So, Diane, welcome. Thank you so much for being on today. So, talk to us a little bit. I know that you're going to be a speaker at Love of Palooza. So, what kind of got you into writing romance, and what kind of romance do you write?
And include what this rock and roll story is, because I'm dying to hear it.
You got it. Well, thanks for having me today. I'm super excited to be here. I got into writing, and I'm gonna just like fast track this one because it's not related to the rock and roll stuff. I got into writing because I always thought, I'm gonna write a novel someday. And one day I watched a movie, didn't like how it went, got angry, and said, "That's it. I'm gonna write it the right way." So I wrote my first book, which was pretty controversial. And I'm doing a workshop at Palooza on taboo literature. So if you want to hear more about that, that's the way to go. But after doing that, and it got me quite a bit of attention, I wanted to do something really fun because I was now known as this taboo literature author. And I don't know that that's really me. And I wanted to do something fun, lighthearted, something that even if you couldn't relate to it, you could have fun with it. So I basically wrote about myself, not gonna lie. Rosalind, my main character, she's into vintage 60s fashion, she's into vintage rock and roll, and, she'll sit there and she will talk your ear off about old school music. And I thought, you know what? This is the fun thing I can write about. And I came up with this crazy storyline where Rosalind's in her favorite record store and she's bantering with the guy behind the counter, and he talks her into buying this seemingly crappy record, and she's being charged $6 for it, and she thinks she's like throwing away her money. And he's like, "Nah, just take it. You'll like it, whatever." And she's like, "Fine. Okay, sure. It's kind of interesting looking, like the cover's kind of cool." And so she gets home and she realizes as she's researching this thing online, oh my God, this thing is worth a small fortune. This is this rare album from this band that's like super well known. And the album like didn't get the release the band wanted it to. Like this was the original cover, and oh my God, this is so cool. And wait a minute, is there blood on this cover? What's going on here? And then her friends call and they're like, "Come meet us at the bar." And she's like, "Okay, let's go." So they go to the bar, and while they're there, she meets Niles, and he is as quirky as she is, and he is dressed to the nines in all the right ways for Rosalind. Like, oh my God, this guy's gonna get me. Like, this is my guy. And of course, through all the twists and turns, everything bombs out because the more perfect you think somebody is, the less perfect they're going to be.
Yes.
But along the way, this album comes back into play. And the long story short is because of this record, Rosalind winds up summoning the lead singer from this band back from the dead. And
okay. Wow. Okay. All right. That's that was a turn I did not see coming. Okay.
There are turns in the twists in this story. The crazy story summarized is this deceased lead singer is very oddly related to Niles, and also in a strange way to Rosalind. And so there's this very strange, it's not a love triangle, but there is a triangle there. And Peter, the deceased musician, actually can help solve the relationship problems that Niles and Rosalind are having. But it's going to mean that Niles has to help Peter avenge his murder. So is Niles going to do it? And it's a fun, lighthearted story. I have been told it is wholly original. A lot of people have told me that, like, they never see the twist coming. They never could have thought that the roads that are taken could even possibly exist. And they walk away going, wow, that was quite a ride. I'm super proud of that book. It won the 2017 Body, Mind, Spirit International Award for Excellence in Visionary Fiction. It's a mouthful to come out with, but, it did really well, and then it spawned more books. So 2 novellas came off of that,
Oh, wow.
and then, 2 more novels came off of it afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm dying to ask,
Ask.
was the idea of having her summon someone from the lead singer from the dead to fix the relationship, was that, were you driving down the road when it occurred to you? Did it evolve? Which way did it happen?
I have no freaking clue how that came
Yeah.
into my mind, but, she's got this cover and it seems to stare at her, like, everywhere she goes, and while it's staring at her, she comes across a Ouija board in her closet, and she pulls out the Ouija board, and, like, things start getting weird.
Wow. I've never that is like an amazing spin on a romance just book. Like that is I'm dying to read that. So I always
Thank you.
have a disclaimer, romance books usually aren't my realm. Me and Russell like someone dying, murder, mystery, suspense thrillers. Like that's mostly me and
Right.
Russell, but this is amazing. Like that's like combining the two things that I love together, which I find to be amazing. I know Russell's having some technical difficulties, but you did win the International Body Mind Spirit Book Award for excellence, and it says visionary fantasy.
Mhm.
Um, but that's amazing. How so? Did you always know that you were going to do that kind of twist where it was like, he's going to come back from the dead? Or did that just evolve as you were writing the story where you're like, this would be freaking awesome to add? Let's do it.
It is necessary to get to and explain the weird relationship that Peter and Niles have, because that whole thing about being summoned back from the dead is not the big twist. It's nothing
Okay.
compared to what's really behind what's going on with Peter and Niles. Like, there is way more there than these guys just happen to connect.
I
So it was
love it.
necessary. It was a catalyst.
Oh, okay. See, that makes sense. I love it. I love it. So go, Russell.
So, you're rather an originalist. You're a little counter group think, which I love. I'm always attracted to that. So, tell us a little bit more about what you're speaking about.
Oh, over at, Lollapalooza?
Yes.
Mm. Okay, well, it's completely different. My first novel was highly controversial. It's called Love's Forbidden Flower, and it's about 2 siblings who realize they have really deep, deep feelings for each other.
Okay.
It's not about sex. It's not, "Oh my god, my sister's hot." It's none of that. It is a civil rights book about why do we make love laws? Like, why are we telling people what they can do in private? And why is it that people are emotionally suffering because we're telling them what they're feeling is wrong and that they're evil because of it. Um, Love's Forbidden Flower, I'm so insanely proud of that book. I don't wanna be defined by it, but, you know, that book, I found that one day I found that my website was getting all these really weird hits, and I did some digging, and a marriage equality site had found me, and they kept referencing my books, and so I reached out to them and had wonderful conversations, and they invited me into a private fold of people who were like Lillian Donovan, who had these intense relationships with a sibling, and I was totally freaked out. I'm like, "Oh my god, they're gonna tell me I got it wrong." And they're like, "No, you got it right." Like, no one can really explain what this person, this relationship means so much to us. This is our everything. This is our world. And you came off in this way that was non-judgmental and you got it. And they went on to name their movement Friends of Lily after my character Lily Beckett, and they created a little symbol and eventually a flag that has the lily symbol on
Oh
it.
wow.
And then they pulled in, colors that they felt were important to their cause. And it's all because of that book. And I get asked all kinds of crazy questions all the time, and all the crazy questions are welcome. And yeah, no regrets on that one.
Wow. That's awesome because I see also on your website that you have it and it says that it was a first lines contest. Was it a winner or just a finalist? Kind of what was that a little bit about?
It's one of those little excuse me, one of those little contests about, opening lines and whatnot. I think little awards like that, in the grand scheme of things, they don't mean much, but I think they show that the author cared enough to try to do something. Like a first line in a book is so important to me. When I open a book, if the first line doesn't grab me, I don't know if I'm going to go to the second line.
Yes. Yes.
And when
You
I
know, that's such an American, modern American thing, Diane. Proust, you have to go 200 pages before anything grabs you, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
modern thing. But
yeah, that first
but you're
line.
right. I'm not saying you're wrong because you're right. Just griping about it.
When I went to publish that book, I went to the library like for days on end, and especially in the romance section, I went through book after book after book, and I would look at the first line to see what people were doing. And so often I would be like, this is going to be formula. This is going to be formula. This is going to be formula. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to flip through and I can tell here's about where they're going to meet. Here's where the problems are going to happen. Here's where we're going to get them resolved. Here's where they're going to have sex. Here's where the big problem's going to happen. And I could just start pulling through. And I'm like, I don't want to be that author. I want you to be surprised.
So,
So
what's your first line in your last book? Read your
in my
first line.
last book,
Well, whichever book that's right in front of you.
here, I've got Love's Forbidden Flower. I'll read you the first.
Oh, okay.
I came prepared. Okay. Excuse me. Today, somewhere among the roses and petunias, my sanity squirted out of my brain and fertilized the backyard.
Wow. I would keep reading. Like I would. I'd want to know what happens. It's one of those things. I think that's so true. It's kind of like how people say, the common saying is you can't judge a book by its cover, which is just the biggest lie because you judge a book by its cover, whether or not you're going to turn it over, right? And then that defines whether or not you buy it. So, I mean, I agree with that 100%. The first line of the book, if you don't captivate me, I'm either going to feel like I wasted my money or it's like, one of those things. So you have to keep them engaged. I also know that you are a USA Today bestselling author.
I am.
Yes.
I am. I was part of a wonderful box set called Mischief Under the Mistletoe. And we worked our tails off and sold, I think it was like, I can't remember how many thousands and thousands of copies it was, but it was this wonderful amount. And the story that was in that is Marshmallow World. It's
Oh,
part
wow.
of the camera. There we go. Part of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Collection. So what happened there was in Scary Monsters, Rosalind, our main character, has amazing friends in Jacqueline and Darla. And I got such great feedback from Scary Monsters. I went on to write a couple of novellas, and I wrote Jacqueline's story, Queen Midas in Reverse. And she, a gorgeous girl who can't get a decent date to save her life, and her friends come to the rescue. Like Jacqueline's at the point where she's running out of restaurants and hopping on buses to get away from the crazy dates she gets. Marshmallow World, Darla. Darla is in all of the rock and roll fantasy books, of which there are 5. She came about because when I wrote Love's Forbidden Flower, I found a fan and fast friend in a lady named Darla, and she kept teasing me and just relentlessly like, Christopher's mine. Lily can't have him. He's my boyfriend. When am I going to get my book and I get Christopher? After a while, I said, you know what? Fine. And so I wrote It's a Marshmallow World with her in mind, and then I've brought Darla into all the rock and roll fantasy books thus far.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of someone, reach out and let them know, but be careful what you wish for because you might wind up in a book.
Yeah, absolutely. Russell, are you going to say something?
No, any fan that would want to be in my book, I'd wind up killing them.
Well, yes, this is a true
That's the book
statement.
I'm working on.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. Well, you guys, make sure that you join us at Lovapalooza and join Diane and what she's going to be talking about on her taboo conversations and taboo topics to be talking about. She's definitely the one to have that conversation, and make sure you come and listen to it. Remember, Lovapalooza kicks off June 17th and it's going through the 26th, so you have time, but these are conversations you're not going to want to miss. Make sure in the comment section below you will find the link to the Diane's website, so that way you can go and check out these books. I'm definitely going to go get the Scary Monster book because that is right up my alley. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and talk to us. Everybody, make sure you tune in because we have a lot more author talk shorts coming up soon.